Right now, without thinking about it, you are doing something your body has done roughly 20,000 times today. You are breathing. You do not choose to do it. You do not plan it. It just happens, somewhere below the level of conscious thought, like a machine running quietly in the basement of your mind. And yet, according to decades of research in pulmonology, sleep science, and evolutionary biology, you're almost certainly doing it wrong. Not a little wrong. Fundamentally, structurally, mechanically wrong. And it is slowly affecting everything from your sleep to your mood to the shape of your face. That sounds impossible. How can something your body does automatically, something it has been doing since the moment you were born, be wrong? That is exactly the right question. And the answer takes you back much further than you might expect. Your breathing is governed by something called the autonomic nervous system. It runs without your permission. But here is the strange part. Unlike your heartbeat, which you genuinely cannot override, your breath sits on a kind of threshold. You can take control of it right now, this second, just by thinking about it. Breathe in, breathe out. You're doing it consciously. But the moment you stop paying attention, the autonomic system takes back over. Breathing lives in two worlds at once. And that dual nature is exactly why it went wrong. To understand how, you need to go back roughly 2 million years. Early humans were not the soft, sedentary creatures modern life has produced. They ran, they chewed, they worked their faces and jaws constantly, grinding tough roots and raw meat and fibrous plant material into something edible. And all of that physical work shaped their skulls in a very specific way. Wide jaws, high vaulted palates, large nasal passages, faces built for airflow. Anthropologist Daniel Lieberman at Harvard has spent years studying the skeletal record of ancient humans. And what he found is striking. Pre-agricultural skulls show virtually no signs of the dental crowding, narrow palates, and deviated septa that are now almost universal in modern populations. Our ancestors breathed through wide open noses because their faces were built wide and open. Not from genetics alone, from use. Then something changed. Around 10,000 years ago, humans discovered agriculture. They started cooking food, softening it, processing it. The mechanical demand on the jaw dropped almost overnight in evolutionary terms. Softer food meant less chewing. Less chewing meant the jaw and midface stopped receiving the mechanical stress that had been shaping those structures for millions of years. The face began to narrow, the palate began to collapse, and the nasal airway, which depends on that underlying bone structure for its width, began to shrink. James Nestor, a journalist who spent years embedded with breathing researchers for his book Breath, describes finding ancient skulls in a museum collection and comparing them to modern skulls. The difference is not subtle. The modern skull has a smaller jaw, a narrower arch, teeth that have nowhere to go. The ancient skull has room. It was built for a life of constant mechanical engagement. We lost that engagement, and our faces changed shape around the loss. Here is what that means for you right now. A narrower palate means a narrower nasal passage. A narrower nasal passage means more airflow resistance. More resistance means your body takes the path of least resistance. It opens the mouth. And mouth breathing, it turns out, is not just a neutral alternative to nasal breathing. It is substantially worse in ways that cascade across your entire physiology. Your nose is not simply a hole in your face. It is a precision instrument. The nasal passages are lined with tiny hair-like structures called cilia that filter particles before they reach your lungs. The mucous membranes in your nose warm and humidify incoming air, protecting the delicate tissue of the lower airways. And deep inside the nasal sinuses, your body produces something called nitric oxide, a molecule that dilates blood vessels, regulates blood pressure, kills pathogens, and increases the efficiency with which your red blood cells absorb oxygen. Every breath through your nose delivers a small dose of this compound directly into your lungs. Every breath through your mouth bypasses it entirely. Research published by John Lundberg at the Karolinska Institute in Sweden identified nasal nitric oxide in the 1990s and followed up with studies showing that nasal breathing can increase oxygen absorption by up to 25% compared to mouth breathing. That is not a rounding error. That is a quarter more efficiency extracted from the same air just by changing which hole it enters through. And it does not stop there. Your breathing rate matters enormously, and almost no one is breathing at the rate that actually optimizes gas exchange.